Hey, everybody. My name is Sharif Amlani. Welcome to our first podcast. Um, I'm the founder and CEO of HumanAI, where we're building Apparae, which is an application that helps you build, manage, and grow microSaaS platforms. I'm super excited to be here today with my co-host and good friend, Gabriel Lobo. Gabriel, how are you doing?
Hey Sharif, I am doing good. How are you?
I'm doing well. You want to go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody?
Yeah, of course. So my name is Gabriel. I'm a data scientist at a fast-growing startup here in the Silicon Valley. And yeah, I'm excited to join the podcast.
Absolutely. So we met working together at Moody's, where Gabriel was nice enough to take me under his wing there, where we learned about generative AI together at the beginning of the sort of Gen AI craze. And at Moody's, we built several cool products together using generative AI. And now we're working together on this new project, and we're super excited to sort of get into it and get started on it. And we want to sort of use this podcast to do, several different things. One, to talk about large language models, what's going on during contemporarily, what's going on today, what's going on in the world of AI, and then also to stay up to date on the latest news, the latest findings, but then also to particularly talk about our experience working with AI, the tips, the tricks, the lessons learned, to hopefully give you and the rest and keep track of all the lessons and techniques that we're learning to make your experience working with large language models or working in data science much more efficient, considering that you can learn from our mistakes. So just getting right into it, the first big news today was Sonnet 5 being released by Anthropic. Gabriel, any thoughts about that release that stuck out to you?
Well, definitely the price. That is for sure one of the main appeals of this new model. Like I can tell you how many times I've dealt with, I've been creating this agent workflow. It's working really well, and then at the end of the month, you see the bill, and you're like, "Yikes!"
Yeah.
So you have to like do all these sorts of like optimizations, see how to just have the tools exposed that you want exposed at the correct time. I'm not saying that you should, like, these are things that you should stop doing. Like these are very good practices for building agents, but I think that Sonnet 5 is a game changer. I mean, it's what, like less than half of what Opus is, and it's very similar in terms of performance. Like I've been testing it today a little bit to do some coding, and I haven't so far seen any differences.
Oh, that's amazing news. I'm relieved to hear that the performance is staying similar to what you've been experiencing from Opus and in the past. How do what do you see as like the cost as people use more AI, but the costs keep going up? What do you think the implications of that are going to be, and how important is it as cost going to be as a consideration moving forward as we become more embedded in and more reliant on large language models?
Do you think that this is like a multi-tiered question, because not everything involved here is technical? I think that there's the geopolitical aspect as to which country controls the best models, but there's also a supply chain aspect, because you were saying like you're basically assuming that people will have access to GPUs to actually implement these models, which is also
Mm-hmm.
it could be true, and it would be awesome if it was true, but as we've seen, like the prices of GPUs just keep going up and up, so maybe that's also going to be an issue. But if we're speaking like just in terms of performance, I mean, I would say that all of these, especially the Chinese models, are really good, and they are competing against the frontier models, maybe they're not competing on an even field because, well, they started being developed later, and there has been, there's the shortage of GPUs and like everywhere in the world. But yeah, I mean, some of them have outstanding performances and just for like a tenth of the price. So yeah, in that sense, I feel like it's just it's just good competition, right? It just makes it better for everyone because the big companies, OpenAI, Anthropic, just have to step up their low budget models like Haiku and the GPT Mini and so on. So I feel like it shouldn't necessarily be like a menace, but it's just fair competition.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great point, and bringing up the competition part is like super important because that's the only way that the models are going to get better, faster, and cheaper, is that they have some sort of benchmark to measure themselves against. And so you mentioned the geopolitical aspects of AI, and we know that both OpenAI and Anthropic have been sort of embroiled in challenges with the federal government, with the federal government taking down or attacking, banning Fable 5, and now OpenAI's new GPT 5.6 getting access to getting government access, getting approved partners. A big question now exists, which is, to what extent should the government have control over what the large language model companies are doing, what they're producing? Should the government be able to step in and say that a model isn't allowed? How should we think about these types of things?
Yeah, I was actually listening to another podcast about this whole topic. Basically, just like the fact that there's uncertainty being added to, like let's say I built my entire company based on like an Anthropic model, but then suddenly that model gets banned because of some reason. Then the whole system that I've built suddenly, stops working. It's not like you have to build it over because you can transfer one LLM to another, but the behavior will be different. Like, is that a risk that you would want to take? Like, if you know that your LLM provider is facing challenges, would you want to use it? Would you want to build a company on top of it? Like, that's something that I'm not sure, because they are not 100% interchangeable.
For sure, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think from like the government perspective, I mean, the government certainly has an interest in regulating products, generally, and that certainly extends to regulating AI. The question is now, to how much regulation, how much reach the government should have in saying what a company can and can't do. I'm sure most of this will probably be litigated out in court, but it's certainly an interesting question now that AI is becoming more prevalent and it's becoming even more important, like you mentioned, on the world stage in terms of which government is going to have access to the highest, best performing models. And certainly the US right now under the current administration is competing directly with China and wants to make sure that A, China probably does not have access to the best models, and B, that the models that get produced here in the US are superior to that in China. And so seeing both domestically in terms of safety, but then politically or geopolitically in terms of performance are two interesting, I guess, cross pressures that the government needs to hold in two hands and consider.
Yeah, that's right. I would argue, though, that these constraints have only made innovation happen faster. Like, the whole reason why the Chinese models are so good now is that they found a way to just optimize how to use like all GPU to get a similar level of performance.
Hmm.
So yeah, even like with like even when like if resources are constricted, I think that's just like a bigger driver for innovation. So I think that's also something to take into consideration in this discussion.
Absolutely, and it certainly helped that some of those Chinese models were distilled from Claude too. I'm sure that helped push things forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, amazing, amazing. So I know you wanted to chat a little bit about MCPs and whether MCPs are dead and what the state of MCPs are and where things are going. So I mean, let me jump in here and tell me what your thoughts were on that.
Yeah, of course. So just as context, as MCP stands for Model Context Protocol, it's just a way for agents to interact with a toolkit that is provided by some service, like like Gmail, like access to Gmail or access to some other platform that has these MCPs, so that the agent can just connect there easily. But yeah, so at least at my company, I've been a huge proponent of MCPs. Just like trying to build out some internal MCPs used to optimize our workflows so that like it has access to all of our databases and access to our code. So you can just ask any agent, hey, so I need to figure out how to, like code. Like I just want to get access to this API and this repo, but I want to mix it up with like access from this other repo and so on. And then the agent can just figure it out because it's connected to different codes. And then it also has access to the database, so it can actually know what the code is doing and how it's writing stuff into the database. I feel like it has been very useful. But at the same time, I've heard people at the company saying like, oh, like MCP is dead, like you're wasting time building this whole infrastructure. And yeah, like, I don't know, like I completely do not agree. There's a lot of value that I think that MCPs have. I think Anthropic is actually making MCP connections a little bit easier now with the latest update to how the protocol is, like to what the information that it contains is handled between the agents and the client. So I think there's a push forward to make them better, but also not the only thing that is used to connect agents to some like business logic, because there's other things that you can use. You can just use your traditional API.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think that just MCP is like a very powerful thing. It's just like not the only thing that you can use to connect an agent to your own business logic.
Yeah, one of the things that we found during our research was that if these models are getting so good, can't they just write their own integrations in the next project, and therefore MCP infrastructure is obsolete? What do you think about that argument that people make?
Well, I just think that it's true. It's true, like an agent can create its own tools and it works really well. But building a tool takes tokens. We have been experimenting at my company with exactly that, like having agents that do their own sort of, like, you just give them access to a terminal, and then if it needs something, it asks you for for stuff, and then you can put like maybe credentials in some like encrypted folder and stuff like that, and then the agent can use those. And it works well. The thing is that to fulfill the first request ever, like for like where it needs to actually discover everything and do it for the first time, it could take up to $100 of like just like that one prompt, and it takes a long time. Whereas if you just code the MCP tool yourself and just give it to the agent, it does the same job in 1 minute and at a fraction of the cost. And also there's the added benefit that if you make the tool, then at least you know what the tool does, which is also, it could be an issue. Maybe the agent misunderstood the the prompt, and it creates something that it's not like what you were envisioning. So if you're in charge of creating the tools and turning them into MCP tools, then I feel like you have much more control over what the agent responds.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess the big thing is like, how do we? Maybe it's not like during our research, it's not a question of are MCPs dead or alive. It's like, how do we continue to improve the MCPs to make them better? Because, like you had mentioned, I think MCPs aren't going anyplace because you're allowing for specialization and separation and development, where we're constantly having to develop our own tools or redevelop our own tools. That could make for a lot of code to maintain, a lot of potential issues for bugs that weren't expected, especially if AI is doing most of the coding. So it feels like if Stripe continues to maintain their MCP and GitHub maintains theirs and Vercel maintains theirs, that is probably going to be better for the ecosystem generally. And then the question is, how can we make MCPs better? Let's just wrap up by saying, one thing that we learned this week, or that we've learned about AI, or some AI tip or tool or technique or something that somebody can implement right away that might be useful to improving their workflow or something. And so, all right, so let me restart and ask that question. All right.
What are you? Wait, just to know, what are you gonna say?
I'm gonna say using Claude Code for non-Claude workflows. So I'm using Claude to help me build slides for teaching. Claude was helping me with my parents' divorce by doing research, but it all happened in VS Code. Yeah,
you're gonna get very personal.
I won't mention the divorce or anything. I'll avoid that.
Okay, good.
Even if I got personal, I think that's still fine. If you want some sort of connection,
Yeah.
But anyway, it's like the Claude using Claude Code for non-coding tasks has really been a game changer.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
I think I'm gonna go with Conductor, which it's like an IDE, but it's more specifically tailored towards agent that has really changed the way that I code, but like with multitasking. Like, how can I say that? I'm just gonna say where I have like multiple agents running at the same time and coding on the same project, but on different features. That has been a game changer for me.
Oh, so,
shit. Okay, that's it.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's cool. I recommend it.
Okay, all right. I'm gonna wave my hand so I can know that I edit here.
Okay.
And then I'll say, okay. All right. So let me fucking restart. All right. So to close out our very first podcast, I think we always want to end by providing one useful tip or one useful tool or technique that we've learned over the past week or over the past of our experience to help you and give you ideas, techniques, tools that may be relevant or helpful for your workflow. And so I'll go ahead and start. So one thing that I've been using a lot lately is Claude Code in VS Code to do non-coding related tasks. So things like helping me build slide decks for teaching. There's no code related to that, but it's working in a repository. It's working to build out documents, working to build out, do research, helping me think through tasks in a repo. It's almost like Claude Desktop and Cowork, but faster, better, higher performance in a VS Code setting. And so for anybody who is using, who has VS Code, who has Claude Code, and needs to do non-coding related tasks, like research or writing documents, then I highly recommend using Claude Code inside VS Code to do those tasks. And Gabriel, what's yours for this week?
Well, it's funny that my recommendation is also IDE related, but mine is more looking at the newer like agentic frameworks that exist. So I've been using Cursor for a very long time, and I love it. But I've been recently started using Conductor, which is more more like AI agents focused, and where you can have, for a same project, you can have multiple agents working, let's say, on different features at the same time and deploying at the same time, and also having it go into, let's say, your GitHub and you review the code, like your code or other people's code. And the cool thing about it is that you run parallel agents, and you create like different different workspaces for all of your products, and you can just like have hundreds of agents running all day, working in parallel, like boosting your efficiency a lot. There's like the other side of this is that it's less code intensive than Cursor, in the sense that it's like a little harder to view what code the agent is doing. But I think that a combination maybe of both frameworks, maybe one for actually focusing, like honing in on a specific piece of code and making it better, and the other one just for building like a new feature and testing that new feature and so on. I feel like that's a good way to start building your agentic workflow and just making everything faster.
That's awesome. I'm gonna have to check out Conductor. It sounds like a great tool. It sounds like it's great for using AI agents, running it in parallel in separate workspaces to be more efficient, and to get more done using AI coding agents. So that's an excellent recommendation. So two recommendations for you to integrate AI into either your coding workflow or into your non-coding workflow as well. So with that, we'll leave it there for the first podcast, the first one in the books. Once again, thanks so much to Gabriel for sharing his knowledge and for being co-host on this podcast. And once again, we'll let you know our product Apparae is coming soon, where you'll be able to code, build, manage, market, and grow your microSaaS platform using AI agents to do all the work for you. And we'll keep you posted with updates on the product as we move through it. But with that being said, for Gabriel, for myself, signing off, and we'll see you on the next one.